Hey everyone! Welcome to the Bold and Beautiful 24. I'm Alessio, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love Bold and Beautiful, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in. Luna responds to Bill's abortion demand. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers for Friday, September 19th suggest that Luna Nozawa will respond to Bill Spencer's abortion demand, while Electra Forrester's plot is wrecked. Bill has been working at the Spencer home to get to the bottom of the Luna pregnancy scenario, and he is still concerned that it is a fraud. However, Luna assured Bill that she was truly carrying Will Spencer's child, so Bill encouraged her to prove her love for Will by freeing him and having an abortion. Luna's reaction to Friday's BNB episode will most likely be outrage. Because this kid is all Luna has been yearning for, she may refuse to abort the pregnancy, infuriating Bill even more. It's feasible that Bill will try to hammer out a deal with Luna in which she agrees to disappear to a tropical island if the abortion takes place. Bill will explain that terminating the pregnancy is Luna's only opportunity to avoid incarceration, but Luna may call his bluff. Luna may insist on keeping the baby and taking chances with what happens next. Luna may believe that because Bill returned her to the Spencer estate rather than transporting her to jail, this indicates something. Luna might predict that if she keeps her baby, Bill will eventually protect his unborn grandchild and avoid returning her to prison, where she could risk bodily harm. Will grapple with what comes next. Will knows it's time to keep Electra updated on what's going on, but he doesn't want to disclose everything and destroy her world. Electra will plan a romantic night and tell Eric Forrester how fantastic Will is. We'll watch Electra prepare for another evening of passion and look forward to delivering Will the unique necklace she crafted for him. Unfortunately, Will's confession could jeopardize Electra's plans and leave her reeling. Electra may be on the approach of discovering Luna's existence and her claim to be pregnant after pouncing on a drunk Will in bed. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers suggest Electra has some shocking news in her future, but that's exactly where she found herself as she stood inside Bill Spencer's mansion on that 10th September night, confronted with a demand that cut deeper than anything she'd ever faced before: Bill's icy insistence that she end her pregnancy, that she prove her so-called love for Will Spencer by setting him free, and the room felt claustrophobic as Bill leaned into his role as guardian and enforcer. His words sharp and immovable, determined to break down Luna's last ounce of will. He still had a lingering suspicion that this pregnancy was nothing more than a manipulation, a scam like the one she'd pulled in the past, but Luna stood there trembling and defiant, insisting that this time was different, that she was truly carrying Will's child, and that the test results she clutched to her chest weren't forged, weren't faked, and weren't anything but genuine proof of the new life growing inside her. Unmoved, Bill pressed harder, presenting his demand as if it were a test of loyalty, telling her that if she truly cared about Will, she would give him back his future by removing the one thing that bound him to her. Luna's face contorted in surprise and indignation, her breath seizing in her mouth as the weight of his words hit her. For so long, a baby had been her desperate desire, her method of establishing her value and carving out a position in a society where she always seemed to be on the outside looking in, but now, in this horrible moment, the one thing she had yearned for has been weaponized against her. Her refusal was quick and visceral, her body reacting before her head could catch up, because the thought of ending this pregnancy, of suffocating the small spark of life she had hoped for, was unbearable. She told him no, her voice quivering but firm, and she could see the storm developing in Bill's eyes, as well as the rage that flowed from him in response to her defiance. He reminded her that prison was still a possibility, that he controlled her fate, but Luna, clutching her stomach, tried to turn his threat back on him, pointing out that if he truly intended to drag her back to a cell, he wouldn't have brought her here, into his home, where she now stood beneath the chandeliers and portraits of Spencer family pride. She began to piece together the truth, that despite his bravado, Bill had hesitated, that some part of him couldn't bring himself to abandon the mother of his grandchild to the wolves, especially since the child signified a continuation of his heritage. Luna gambled on that hunch, claiming that if she brought this baby to term, Bill's protective streak would eventually outweigh his fury, and that he would shield her from the worst of what was ahead, not for her sake, but for the small life that bound them together. Bill bristled, tossing another ultimatum, this time dangling the prospect of escape, promising her the chance to flee to some tropical island where no court or jury could touch her, if she agreed to his terms. He depicted it as her only lifeline, but Luna stared him down, refusing to give up, and it became evident that her resistance was more than just stubbornness, it was survival, a desperate attempt to cling to the only hope she had left. While this battle of wills raged across town, Will Spencer was drowning in a different type of anguish. He knew the truth he carried was a ticking time bomb, that Electra Forrester's world would crumble the moment she discovered Luna was not only alive but also claiming to be pregnant with his kid after manipulating him when he was at his most vulnerable. Electra, blissfully ignorant, spent the day planning a night she hoped would mark the next chapter in their burgeoning love story. She told Eric Forrester about Will, how he made her feel valued, and how she designed a necklace particularly for him, a piece meant to signify their link and future. She poured her heart and soul into planning an evening of romance, building the basis for passion and intimacy, all while Will struggled with the fear of having to tell her the truth, knowing that his confession would shatter everything. The contrast was almost cruel, Electra lighting candles, smoothing down her dress, imagining the smile on Will's face when she fastened the necklace around his neck, while Will sat in silence, running his hands through his hair, imagining the devastation in her eyes when she discovered that Luna's shadow still haunted their lives in the most irreversible way possible. Every instant took him closer to the point of no return, the collision of past mistakes and present hopes, and as Electra's romantic plot grew in excitement, Will's resolve to come clean teetered on the brink. Meanwhile, back at the Spencer mansion, Luna and Bill's standoff reached new heights, with both unwilling to back down, motivated by a belief that left no space for compromise. Luna's refusal was more than just about preserving the baby, it was about regaining control in a world where everyone had tried to silence her, manipulate her, or completely erase her. Bill's desire was about more than just punishing Luna, it was about safeguarding Will and rewriting a future that he believed was slipping away. Their voices clashed like sharp and merciless swords, until the calm that followed felt as threatening as the shouting that had come before. By the end of the night, nothing had been resolved, only deepened, the divide, the anger, the fear, the secrets, and the looming revelation that Electra's carefully crafted dream was seconds from collapsing, that Luna's pregnancy would ripple through every corner of their lives, tearing open wounds that no one was prepared to face. Luna Nozawa never imagined that her fight for survival, her desperate attempt to reclaim a sense of belonging in a world that had consistently cast her aside, would come to such a terrifying and heartbreaking halt inside the walls of Bill Spencer's sprawling mansion, where every glittering chandelier, polished surface, and echoing corner seemed to magnify the suffocating weight of the confrontation that now held her hostage. Because Bill's demand, that Bill's voice was sharp and uncompromising. As he laid out his case, framing the abortion not as cruelty but as a twisted act of love, insisting that if Luna truly cared for Will Spencer, she would set him free by ending the pregnancy that tethered him to a mistake, but Luna, trembling yet fierce, clutched at her abdomen as though her hands could shield the fragile life inside from the force of Bill's words, and in that moment, Bill's eyes burned with suspicion, anger, and a cold calculation that made him seem more executioner than father, and he reminded her that prison still loomed, that her so-called miracle wouldn't stop him from locking her away if she refused to comply, but Luna seized on the small crack she thought she saw in his armor, pointing out that if he truly meant to toss her back into a cell, he would have done it already, that he wouldn't have brought her here. To his man she accused him, quietly but boldly, of bluffing, of hiding behind threats when deep down he already knew he couldn't bear to see his bloodline extinguished before it began, and Bill, furious at her audacity, countered with a dangerous new offer, dangling the prospect of freedom like a poisoned apple, telling her that she could escape, disappear to a tropical island where no judge could reach her, where no prison door could slam shut behind her, if she did the one thing. And while this battle of wills raged inside the mansion, across town Will Spencer found himself unraveling in a quieter but no less devastating storm, pacing in the shadows as the weight of his secrets crushed him, knowing that every second he delayed brought him closer to the inevitable moment when Electra Forrester's radiant hope, her unwavering love, would be annihilated by the truth that Luna was alive, that she carried his child, that she had cornered him on a night. Electra, in cruel contrast, floated through her day with a lightness that would soon be ripped away from her, confiding in Eric Forrester with glowing cheeks and sparkling eyes as she gushed about how much Will meant to her, how he made her feel secure and cherished in a way she hadn't thought possible, her words brimming with excitement as she revealed the necklace she had crafted just for him, a token of her devotion that she believed would symbolize the love and future. She spent the evening planning a romantic night filled with candles, soft music, and dreams of passion, all while Will sat alone, his stomach twisted in knots, haunted by the vision of her joy turning to grief when he finally told her what Luna had done, what had happened between them, and what it might mean for the rest of their lives. Every candle Electra lit was like a countdown timer ticking toward the detonation of her world. Every smile she practiced in the mirror a fragile prelude to tears she didn't know she'd cry, and when she imagined fastening the necklace around Will's neck with trembling fingers, he could only imagine her ripping it off in anguish when the truth was revealed. Back at the mansion, the silence that followed Luna's refusal was more dangerous than any shouting, the kind of silence that held within it the threat of irreversible choices, of lines being crossed that no one could ever retreat from, and as Bill stared at her, his jaw clenched, his fists curled, Luna could feel the tremor of his fury vibrating through the walls, but she stood her ground, her defiance born not just of stubbornness but of survival, of a desperate need to end as night fell heavily over Los Angeles. Two truths existed in parallel. Luna's refusal would set off a chain reaction of rage and consequences from which none of them could escape, and Electra, blissfully unaware, was on the verge of a heartbreak so devastating that it would ripple through every corner of their tangled lives, ensuring that when the revelations finally collided, no one, neither Bill, nor Will, nor Luna, nor Electra, would emerge unscathed. Bill, towering over her, his eyes blazing with fury, insisted that he could and he would, because his son would not be shackled to her, not to someone who had already proven she was untrustworthy, not to someone who had torn through their lives like a hurricane leaving only wreckage behind. And though Katie tried to interject when she arrived, her voice soft, urging Bill to calm down, reminding him that this wasn't his body, wasn't his choice, he silenced her with a glare and a growl, making it clear that in his world, the choices were his to dictate, and Will, pale, conflicted, guilt gnawing at him as he glanced between Luna's tear-streaked face and his father's ironclad determination, felt the weight of Electra Forrester's smile in the back of his mind, felt the crushing dread of the moment he would have to look her in the eye and confess everything, confess the betrayal, the mistake. The night with Luna that had now unraveled into a nightmare, and at Forrester Creations, Electra herself was still blissfully unaware, sipping coffee with Hope Logan and laughing softly about how glad she was that she had waited, that her first time with Will had been special, magical, everything she had hoped for, and Hope, ever the romantic, smiled warmly, telling her she deserved this kind of happiness, while across town, in the shadows of Il Giardino, Sheila's sharp eyes narrowed as she replayed her memories of Luna, of the obsession, of the fixation on Will that she had tried to brush off but could never quite shake, and though she told Deacon she was thinking about Hayes, about her grandchild, the truth was she was thinking about Luna, about the dangerous game unfolding, about how easily this could spiral, and when Lee appeared in front of her, sharp and accusatory, Sheila's suspicions grew tenfold upon learning that Luna had vanished into Bill Spencer's custody, a development that unsettled even Sheila's hardened heart, but none of that mattered to Luna as she sat in the Spencer mansion, Bill looming over her like a judge delivering a sentence, his voice echoing in her ears, demanding that if she truly wanted redemption, if she truly wanted to prove she wasn't the schemer they all thought she was, she would do the one thing he believed would set Will free, she would end the pregnancy, she would erase the life growing inside her before it had a chance to become real. And as the clock ticked and the walls seemed to close in, Luna realized she was standing on the edge of a precipice, caught between her desperate need for love and acceptance, her fierce protectiveness over the child she had only just discovered, and the crushing, merciless force of Bill Spencer's will, a force that threatened to strip her of everything she thought she could hold onto. And as Thursday's bold and the beautiful episode closed, it wasn't just Luna's future hanging in the balance. It was the fate of the entire Spencer family, tangled now in a storm of betrayal, suspicion, love, and control, with the promise of chaos yet to come.